In the long and powerful history of England, many kings and queens ruled with strength, ambition, and sometimes fear. Some were remembered for their wars, others for their wealth, and a few for their cruelty. But among them, there was one ruler who stood apart, a king remembered not for his golden crown, but for his golden heart. That ruler was King Alfred the Great. Born in the year 849, Alfred was the youngest son of King Ethelwulf of Wessex. No one expected him to become king. He was not raised to rule, nor was he trained to sit upon the throne. Yet destiny had other plans. When his older brothers died during the violent Viking invasions, Alfred was forced to take the crown in one of the darkest periods of English history. The land of Wessex was under constant attack. The fierce Danish Vikings burned villages, destroyed churches, and spread fear across the countryside. Many kingdoms had already fallen. The people were hungry, frightened, and losing hope. When Alfred became king in 871, he inherited not a peaceful kingdom, but a broken and bleeding nation. But what made King Alfred different was not just his courage in battle, it was his deep care for his people. Unlike many rulers who lived in luxury while their subjects suffered, Alfred understood the pain of the poor. He listened to their struggles. He walked among them. He believed that a king's true strength came from protecting the weak. In 878, after suffering heavy defeats, Alfred was forced into hiding in the marshes of Athelney. It was a humiliating moment for a king. According to legend, during this time he even burned some cakes while lost and thought about saving his kingdom. But instead of surrendering, Alfred planned his return. He gathered loyal men and launched a powerful counterattack at the Battle of Edington. There, he defeated the Viking leader Guthrum, forcing him to accept peace and even convert to Christianity. This victory was more than military success. It was the beginning of a safer England. Alfred reorganized his army, built fortified towns called burhs, and created a defensive system to protect villages from future attacks. For the first time in years, common families could sleep without fear of sudden invasion. But Alfred's greatness was not limited to war. He believed education was the key to a strong nation. At a time when learning had nearly disappeared due to constant conflict, Alfred began a cultural revival. He invited scholars to his court and encouraged the translation of important Latin books into Old English, so ordinary people could understand them. He himself translated texts and promoted literacy among both nobles and commoners. Alfred also improved the system of law and justice. He ensured that laws were fair and based on Christian principles of mercy and equality. He worked to protect the rights of the poor, making sure that powerful nobles could not easily oppress them. His belief was simple yet revolutionary: a king must serve his people, not rule over them with fear. Unlike many medieval rulers, Alfred did not seek endless conquest. He sought unity. He dreamed of a single, united English kingdom where people could live in peace. Though he ruled only Wessex directly, his reforms laid the foundation for the future unification of England under later kings. Because of his wisdom, courage, and compassion, Alfred earned a rare title, the Great. In fact, he remains the only English king ever officially called the Great. But more important than titles was the love of his people. Farmers, craftsmen, and villagers respected him not as a distant ruler, but as a protector. When King Alfred the Great died in 899, he left behind more than a kingdom. He left behind hope. He transformed a collapsing land into a rising nation. He proved that true leadership is not about power or riches, but about responsibility and service. Even today, over 1,000 years later, statues of Alfred stand proudly in places like Winchester, reminding the world of a king who chose compassion over cruelty. In a time of swords and fire, he ruled with wisdom and heart. The story of the English ruler Who was loved by the poor teaches us a timeless lesson. Greatness is not measured by how many lands you conquer, but by how many lives you protect. And in that measure, King Alfred the Great remains one of the most beloved rulers in the history of England.